Hey, RMRcc here. Today we're taking a look at the 507K or 407K X2 from Holosun. Or, if a random string of numbers mean very little to you, today we're looking at the micro red dot sight from Holosun, and it's the Gen 2 version. I'll be dividing this review up into my typical 3 sections. The overview, where I cover the features, observations, what did I notice during the use of the product, and finally, opinion, where I give my opinion. This optic is the physical manifestation of the meme. If you can do something very well after many years, there's probably an Asian child who can do it 10 times better in half the time. Alright, let's get into it. The 507K is a micro red dot sight meant to mount on single or stagger stack compact pistols. I'd call it a micro red dot sight, but that's what this is, so is this a micro red dot sight? I don't know. I'm just going to call it a micro red dot sight. Standout feature is obviously its size. It's slim enough to fit within the slide profile of a single stack pistol. So we can all continue loading up our concealed single stack pistols with so many add-ons that they perform similarly to our full-sized. That's pretty neat. A point to note, there are minimal differences between the 507K and the 407K, the main one being that the 507K can switch reticles, the 407K cannot. But since I own the 507K, I'm just going to say 507K, even though most of what I say here is applicable to the 407K. The optic comes in at $260, thanks to being made by Chinese slave labor. So while my conscience may hate it, my wallet doesn't. Brightness adjustments are in the exterior. This is actually somehow a feature worth mentioning, as a prominent competitor, the Romeo Zero, has brightness adjustments that are so recessed that you borderline need a toothpick to adjust the brightness on the fly. So yeah, Holosun 507K, easy to use adjustments. Mounting pattern is RMRcc footprint, with the slight caveat that the RMRcc may or may not have 4 prongs by default for the mounting, but the 507K can only accept the 2 prongs. So depending on the age of your mount, you may need to file it. However, with the popularity of the 507K, most manufacturers will probably just nix the rear prong, which is what happened in my case. Battery compartment is on the exterior. You hear that, Trigicon? It does require a tool, because we can't have our cake and eat it too, but with the projected 50k hour battery life and shake awake, you actually won't be doing this too often. At least, the product page says it has shake awake. It's either non-existent or this thing reads minds, because I've tried multiple times to ambush it to see if it's off or not. Never been able to see it off. Adjustments are kind of squishy. Honestly, they're pretty shitty, but we're not exactly dialing to get shots on target after zeroing, so who cares? Buttons have a number of features like lockout, different reticles, whatever. I've never really used these. I personally prefer actually being able to adjust my brightness on the fly, and I don't want to overcome a lockout, and the buttons are recessed enough that I've never adjusted the brightness while carrying. I'll get more into the different optic styles later. Furthermore, in this case with a milling job from Culper Precision, this Holosun sits low enough that the cutout in the optic actually allows for the usage of standard height sights to co-witness. Hey, it's pretty nice. Not much to say here. It's a red dot. The reticles, personally for me, I don't find these reticles very good or useful. They're kind of gimmicky. The outer ring is too small, and the inner dot is too big. It's 2 MOA. I don't really get the point of this. The whole point of circle dot reticles is that you have a ring to guide your eyes to a very fine center dot. 2 MOA is like standard almost for just the dot. So I switched it to the single dot mode and haven't looked back since. But others may find they enjoy this mode. Whatever. Unfortunately, I'm not only genetically defect to be a lefty, I also got screwed at birth. So I have bad eyesight. Pretty bad astigmatism for me. The dot looks like a figure 8, so I can't really comment on dot clarity. That being said, I'm able to use this optic just fine. Next up, window size. It's a bit tight, such that on poor presentation you might fish for the dot, which is something I've noticed that I don't have an issue with on larger models, but this is just me being lazy, trying to squeeze off a shot fast. Glass tint level is noticeably less than an RMR, which is both good and bad. Good in the sense that when you shoot both eyes open, which you should be, the image is much more uniform, versus with an RMR, which has some slight distortion. However, in very dark environments with a bright flashlight, or in, oh god, why did human colonize literal deserts, sunshine conditions, which I live in for 9 months out of the year, the dot brightness level begins to struggle, which could have been mitigated with some tint. It's not bad to the point of where it's unusable, but it's close. I'm not Aaron Cowan, so I didn't launch this thing with surgical tubes into the side of a mountain to test durability, but I've done about 10 to 20 optics reloads. That is, I bash the thing against something like my belt or shoes to do cool ninja one-handed slide manipulations. I've also put slightly over 1,000 rounds through this thing. No problem so far. I'll be real, kind of hard to get excited and form really fun opinions about a red dot. It's kind of like those people that get overly excited for different tires for their car.
Yo, what the fuck?
That being said, well, Holosun probably has a bit to go regarding to quality control. Their products are pretty awesome. Shit, the 407 and 507, that's the bigger version, right? Same name for some reason, was actually more durable compared to the RMR, according to a lot of reputable individuals. So while the Trijicon is making microdots that have patterns that don't exist yet, no removable battery slots, we have Holosun over here making cheap but quality, and sometimes better than the more expensive counterparts, that are also innovating with shit that we actually care about, unlike whatever this thing is supposed to be. Sometimes it's not the big sweeping features, I guess, but instead the tiny culmination of features: co-witness without suppressor high sights, removable batteries, external brightness adjustment, a good price, an industry standard mounting platform, and acceptable durability. Wow, some companies could take a lesson from Holosun here. Oh, before I send you up, since some of you might care, this guy's sitting on a 43X, milled and Cerakoted by Culper Precision. 43X has about 2,000 rounds through it now, and those 2,000 rounds were handled by 3, really only 2 since one's the carry mag, of these shield arms mags. Literally no malfunctions. Like, my G19 has more malfunctions than this with stock OEM mags. Just saying. I've also not cleaned it in this 2,000 rounds. It's doing quite well so far. Alright, that's been some brass facts for you. Stay safe, take care, we'll see you around.